Hello everyone, welcome once again. So today here we are to discuss the types of ocean currents and their nature along with the effect on shipping industry and fishing industry. In the previous lecture what we did, the factors which are responsible for the movement of ocean currents. So let me remind you the factors which are responsible for the movement of ocean currents, and they are temperature, salinity, then after the shape of coastline, prevailing winds and the ocean currents, basically Coriolis force, which are considered as the 5 possible factors responsible. Now on the basis of these 5 factors, what we have noticed that they are the possible driving factors. Here we will see them one by one, and the oceans which we are going to do today are Pacific, Atlantic and Indian Ocean. So first we will see the Atlantic Ocean, then after the Pacific Ocean and then Indian Ocean, one after the another. Let me give you the brief idea. The color which we are going to draw with red will be the warm ocean currents and blue the cold ocean currents. Then after we will discuss their properties one after the another. So in Atlantic Ocean, just north of equator, the current is known as North Equatorial Current, which is warm in nature, and when it moves westward in the influence of, you can say, the northern coastal part of South America, it takes the path northward and passes from the capital of French Guiana, Caen, due to which it is known as Caen current, which is also warm in nature. Now then after it enters in Gulf of Mexico near the Florida coast, and it is known as Florida current, which is also warm in nature. And from Florida or Gulf of Mexico, the streams move out by the name Gulf Stream, which is considered as, you can say, the fastest moving current, and under the influence of westerly, the Gulf Stream becomes North Atlantic drift in the Northern Atlantic Ocean, and under the influence of westerlies it reaches to the coast of Norway as Norwegian current. Now if we notice the North Atlantic drift and Norwegian current, let us go back and answer the question, the effect on shipping industry. So as we know that the ocean currents carry their property, so this ocean current is the part of equatorial current basically, and moving from the warmer latitudes towards the colder latitude. So it will carry the property of warm. Now when it reaches to the northern and you can say northwestern coast of Europe, basically what happens there? We know Europe is located in temperate latitude. So during winter season, the European area or the coast of Europe will become more colder, and this coldness will lead to the freezing of basically the you can say the North Atlantic part or the coast of Northern Europe. This is the normal thinking. But what we see that the ports of Northern Europe are open during winter season also, or you can say open throughout the year. Now the question comes, why? So basically, as the North Atlantic drift and the Norwegian current are warm in nature, so when they reach the temperate latitudes and the ocean part in temperate latitudes, what they do, they increase the temperature of that particular part of ocean, leading into milder water. Means you can say that preventing the area from getting freezed during winter season. So we can say that due to North Atlantic drift and Norwegian current, the ports of northern Europe are open throughout the year or during winter season also, instead of being located in temperate latitudes. And that's why the Europe or the European nations has colonized the world, because if we will neglect or we will just remove the warm ocean currents from this coast, they will get freezed during winter. So they are going to have only 6 months of frozen free ports, so they can navigate only during summer season, and winter season they will freeze down. But this don't happens, as because of the warm ocean currents, means they are favorable for the ports in temperate latitudes. Now on the other hand, what is their bad effects? So let's have a look on the other part of the currents. One current will move down from the east coast of Greenland, that is East Greenland current, and also known as Erminger current, which is cold in nature. And the another current comes down from the West Greenland coast, which is considered as West Greenland current, and as it passes through Labrador Sea, it is known as Labrador current, which is cold in nature. Now see the negative effect of cold current, or basically you can say the ocean current. Now the Labrador current is cold because it is coming from the higher latitudes or the polar region. So what it will do, you can say eastern coast of Canada or the northeastern coast of Canada will be frozen during winter season. Why this is so? Due to the cold Labrador current. So negative impact means the shipping industry of northeastern Canada is going to be completely stopped due to the cold current, which is increasing, you can say decreasing the sea surface temperature, leading into freezing of the sea. Second thing, the positive effect also, but this positive effect will be on fishing industry. How? As you can notice, the warm Gulf Stream and the Labrador current is meeting over here near Newfoundland on the, you can say, eastern coast of Canada. Now when the cold and the warm currents meet, they make the water milder in nature. Now that milder water lead into germination of small micro seaweeds, which are planktons, and these planktons attract the fishes in this area, which lead into development of the fishing grounds, and one of the world's richest fishing ground is formed over here, which is known as Grand Banks near Newfoundland. Means the good effect on fishing industry also, but bad effect on shipping industry. First, the coasts are frozen. Second bad effect, when the warm and the cold current meets, they lead into formation of dense sea fog, and when this dense sea fog is formed, basically they are hazardous for the navigating ships. Means the meeting of cold and warm is having the good effect also and bad effect also. Bad effects, formation of dense sea fog, leading into basically the less or zero visibility in the oceans, and due to zero visibility, either they are going to collide with each other, the ships, or they are going to hit the icebergs. Positive aspect, they are turning this area into fishing grounds. So good effect also and bad effect also. Now from the western coast one currents come down, as we saw in the Coriolis force, the currents will move right of their path in north and left of their path in south from the west coast. That is the Canary current number 9. Okay, and then after, when this current reaches in the tropics from the coast of Guyana, it becomes Guyana current, which is warm in nature. So there are 10 currents in the North Atlantic Ocean, in which basically 7 are warm in nature and 3 are cold in nature. Now moving on to the Southern Atlantic Ocean, the South Equatorial Current, when it will move again westward, it will hit the Brazil coast and become Brazilian current, which is warm in nature. On the other hand, we saw the influence of prevailing winds on the movement of ocean currents. So as I told you in the previous lecture also, that in the influence of westerlies, one ocean current is there in all the southern part of oceans, that is the west wind drift. Now the shape of coastline is also affecting the movement of current. So when the west wind drift will hit the southern part of South American continent, it get bifurcate in 2 parts, one on the eastern and one on the western. So as we are right now concerned with the Atlantic Ocean, so the eastern part, which is bifurcated from west wind drift due to the southern part of South America, is considered as Falkland current because it passes through the coast of Falkland Island, which is again cold in nature, and when it meets the Brazilian currents, again it will make the eastern coast of Uruguay or the southern coast of Brazil, or you can say Argentina, as the fishing ground. Then after, the west wind drift in the South Atlantic Ocean will be also known as South Atlantic drift or South Atlantic current, and from the west coast of Africa, it is again diverted towards the equator as Benguela current, which is again cold in nature. So in this way, if you notice, the Atlantic Ocean currents are basically either moving due to the temperature difference or the shape of the coastline, prevailing winds, or the Coriolis force. And these are the important currents of the Atlantic Ocean. Always remember their name, property, and effect on fishing and shipping industry. Now we are moving to the Pacific Ocean, and if we notice in Pacific Ocean, when the North Equatorial Current will move, it will take the path according to the eastern coast of Asia and move along the coast of eastern coast of Japan as Kuroshio current or Japan current, which is warm in nature. Now let me give you the importance of Kuroshio current. Kuroshio current is warm in nature and it is passing through the eastern coast of Japan, and Japan is located in temperate latitude. Now again, during winter season, the temperature of Japan Sea, or basically the coast of the Japan, will become below freezing point and they will freeze. But due to the warm Kuroshio, the eastern coast of Japan is again open throughout the year, means will keep the sea surface temperature that much warm so that it can prevent it from freezing. Now under the influence of westerlies, they will again move here as North Pacific drift or North Pacific current, which will hit the western coast of Canada, and from here it moves like this according to the shape of coastline as Alaska current. Now if you notice, North Pacific drift number 3 or North Pacific current and the Alaska current, both are warm in nature, and the area where they are reaching are located in temperate latitude and the Alaska coast near Arctic Circle, southern Alaska coast. Now again during winter season, the warm North Pacific drift and Alaska current prevent the western coast of Canada and the southern Alaska from freezing. Means due to North Pacific drift and Alaska current, the western coast of Canada and southern Alaska are open throughout the year instead of being located in temperate latitudes. Again, good effect on shipping industry. Then after, one part is moving down as California current from the west coast of North America. Then after, one currents come down from the Arctic Circle from through Bering Strait, or you can say Bering Sea here, and this is known as OASIO current or Bering current, because coming through Bering Sea or Strait, and as it passes through Kuril Trench and Kuril Island, it is also known as Kuril current, which is cold in nature. Now the bad effect on shipping industry, it touches or passes through the west coast of Japan. Now due to the cold OASIO current, the west coast of Japan will be frozen during winter season, as because the current is cold in nature. Means the island is having two type of coast, one the perennial and the second one is seasonal. Means the eastern coast of the island, that is Japan, is open throughout the year due to warm current, and the western coast of that particular island is frozen during winter season due to cold current. And instead of being on the same latitude, so good and bad effect both. On the other hand, when the cold OASIO and warm Kuroshio currents meet, you have heard about that the East China Sea or the Japan Sea turns into one of the again richest fishing ground in world. Means good effect on fishing industry also, bad effect on shipping industry. And always mind, the areas where cold and warm current will meet, two effects are going to be there. One, they will turn into fishing grounds, and the second effect, dense sea fog, which will be hazardous for the navigating ships in those areas. So good and bad both are going to be simultaneously, but one on other industry and the second on another industry. Then after, the California current moves down as cold current, which is the part of North Pacific Ocean. One more small current comes down from the Sea of Okhotsk as Okhotsk current, that is cold in nature, which further joins the OASIO and makes it more colder. Then after, in the Southern Pacific Ocean, the South Equatorial current, when it moves, it comes down from the coast of Australia, east coast of Australia, as East Australian current, which is again warm in nature and merge with west wind drift as South Pacific drift or South Pacific current. Basically, let me tell you that you are not going to find these names in your atlas. You will find west wind drift written all over the map. means through all the oceans, but the part of the ocean, the southern part of the ocean in which they are present, they will given the name of that particular ocean, like South Atlantic Drift as North Atlantic Drift or South Atlantic Ocean, North Pacific Current or North Pacific Drift, South Pacific Drift or South Pacific Current. And if you remember, the west wind drift was bifurcated, one as Falkland Current, the another moves up from the coast of Peru as Peruvian Current, Peru Current or Humboldt Current, which is cold in nature. Now, if you remember, this Peru or Humboldt Current connection with El Nino and La Nina, the disappearance of this Peruvian current only leads to the starting of the El Nino event in the tropical Pacific, and the strong upwelling of this Peruvian current initiate the event of La Nina after every El Nino event. So one is the good effect and one is the bad effect. And as the Humboldt current is cold in nature and disappearance lead to the warm current, that's why the El Nino is considered as the warm ocean current, but associated with the cold Humboldt or Peru current. Now, how this El Nino phenomena occurs or the event occurs, and what is the importance, the bad effects and the good effects on the global climate, local climate or the ocean surface temperature, how it take place, we will discuss it in the coming lectures. Means the importance of Peruvian or Humboldt current in the event of El Nino, La Nina and ENSO, that is the El Nino Southern Oscillation. Now this is the, you can say, currents of Pacific Ocean. Now moving on to the Indian Ocean. In Indian Ocean, the southern part is having the south equatorial current. On the other hand, the local current or small current is Somali current, which moves in the northern part of the, you can say, Indian Ocean. It is the Arabian Sea part, which is localized and used to turn as because of the movement of the monsoon winds. So it is not considered as important. But the southern Indian Ocean is having four important currents. South equatorial, when it passes through the Mozambique channel or from the coast of Mozambique, it is considered as Mozambique current, and the lower part is considered as the Angola current, which is warm in nature and again mix up with the west wind drift as South Indian Ocean drift or Indian Ocean current, which further moves up from the west coast of Australia as West Australian current, which is warm in nature. So these are the important ocean currents of the oceans present on earth, in which they used to move and regulate the temperature from lower latitudes towards the higher latitudes and from higher latitudes towards the lower latitudes. Apart from this, some other questions are also there which are hidden in this circulation, like what is the pattern of circulation of the ocean currents in northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere. So if you notice, the circulation pattern of the currents in northern hemisphere is clockwise and in southern hemisphere it is anti-clockwise. So this is the first hidden, you can say, question. Second question is, if we locate the important tropical hot deserts on world map, Mojave and Sonoran Desert, North America, Atacama Desert, South America, Namib and Kalahari Desert, Africa, Sahara Desert, Northern Africa, Great Victoria, Great Sandy, in Australia, Western Australia. So the question which is asked by examiner is, why all the hot deserts in tropic are located on the western margin of continents? So if you notice, all the western margin of the continents are having cold ocean currents, like the California current on the western margin of North America, Humboldt current on the western margin of South America, Benguela on the western margin of South Africa, Canary in the northwestern margin of Africa, West Australian current on the western margin of Australia. So due to presence of cold ocean currents in the tropics, all the hot deserts are located, as because due to presence of cold ocean currents, the area becomes basically high pressure in nature, and due to presence of warm current on the counterpart in the eastern, the offshore trade winds used to move, means just like this, means the air over the western coast are sinking, and when they will sink, we know that the sinking air takes the moisture, do not give the moisture, means due to presence of cold ocean currents and the offshore trade winds, all the hot deserts in tropics are located on the western margin of continents. Clear to you all? So these are the ocean currents along with their properties, their importance, and shaping the world climate, or you can say basically the distribution of temperature all over the globe, from lower latitudes towards the higher latitudes and from higher latitudes towards the lower latitudes, which is also shaping the nature of industries along the coast, either open throughout the year or seasonal in nature, or basically the fishing grounds or the non-fishing grounds. So all these effects are there, means if the circulation is going to be stopped or it will change, the temperature belts along with their distribution, their effects will also change, and which can lead to the adverse weather conditions. Now the question comes, how the circulation can change? So due to global warming, how the global warming is going to lead to the change in the ocean current circulation? So if you remember the factors which are responsible for the movement of ocean currents, temperature and salinity is also the most important factor. Now due to global warming, the temperature will rise, means the ocean waters which are having less temperature in the polar areas will rise, means their level will become high. Second thing, the salinity and the evaporation process, which will lead to the increase in salinity. Third thing, the frozen area of the poles in the both ends, north and south, basically the fresh water is stored in the polar areas. Now due to global warming, when the fresh water which is stored over here will melt, and the melting of ice will lead into adding of a huge flux of water in the oceans. Now when a huge amount of fresh water is going to added directly in the ocean, the salinity of the ocean will be redistributed, and the salinity redistribution will lead to the redistribution of the osmosis and the reverse osmosis process, means the again you can say reformation of the ocean currents. And when the reformation will take place, basically those reformation will lead into adverse weather change in the particular areas. And like, let me give you the example, like the Norwegian and the North Atlantic drift. Suppose a huge flux of cold water in the polar area is going to be added in this Northern Atlantic Ocean. What will happen? First, the water is fresh, means less saline. Second, temperature is very less. So what it will do? It will cool down the temperature of Norwegian and the North Atlantic drift. Means basically the temperature of North Atlantic Ocean will drop down. Now when it will drop down, what it will lead? You can say freezing of the northwestern and the northern coast of Europe, because they are already located in the temperate latitudes. Now when they are located in the temperate latitudes and the temperature is milder due to the warm current, when it will become colder, the temperature will decrease more, and this decrease in temperature will lead into freezing of the coast. Means they are going to be seasonal instead of perennial. Now the shipping industry, then after, when the cold winds will move, basically due to located in temperate zone, they are having the cold region or cold temperature also, less temperature also, as because of the located in, you can say, near to the Arctic Circle. So the warm current are making the area's temperature, the coast temperature, milder, and that is favoring the survival of life over there. But when the currents will become cold, automatically the winds over there will become cold, and they are going to affect the normal life also. Means more chilled winds will move, more temperature will come down, and the livelihood over there will be disrupted. So global warming can lead to the disruption in the ocean current circulation, and this ocean current circulation, you can say change, can lead into change of the temperature belts over a long period of time as because of the adverse weather conditions. And this has been asked in previous year also, and they can ask you that how the distribution or the movement of ocean currents are going to be affected due to global warming or the climate change, or discuss the bad effects or the impacts of global warming on the movement of ocean currents, along with few relevant examples. So you have to quote all these area, like here in, you can say basically this whole area, the coast which are open throughout the year during, you can say throughout the year or during winter season also, due to presence of warm currents, will get frozen during winter season. Why? Due to the addition of cold water. So basically these are the, you can say, otherwise questions or the applied questions, which is considered as applied geography, oceanography and climatology. So by the time you are not going to know about the, you can say, general circulation or the movement of currents or the basic characteristics of winds, all these things, or the polar vortex, how the polar front is formed, the westerlies and the easterlies, or the temperate cyclones, you are not going to link these answers, or basically the you cannot understand the question. What to answer? How? See, only writing in mains is not the important aspect. Writing the matter what is asked in the question is important. Means writing does not matter, but the matter matters in the answer. What you are giving, that is the most important thing. And only not giving. Are you giving that aspect only which has been asked in the questions, or what is the requirement of the question? So you have to link all these things. And if you have noticed, nowadays they are not asking you the direct questions about a single topic, but rather they are interlinking the topics. And if your concepts are not clear about those topics, you are not going to answer those questions perfectly. And if you will not answer them perfectly, how they are going to give you the perfect marks? So the main aspect is to understand the sections very neat and clean and interconnect them. Thorough study. So these are the ocean currents and their effects, as we have discussed. Effect on shipping industry, fishing industry, along with the impact of global warming, and what will happen when the global warming will take place, and the melting of polar ice, how the melting of polar ice is going to affect the ocean currents and the areas nearby there. So we will meet you in the next class with more interesting topic. Till then, thank you. Have a nice day.